What if we tell you America, which talks about human rights all the time, is still unlivable for Black people? Will this shock you? If you are a Black American, you won't be surprised to know this because you might have already faced things that no media is talking about. From taking loans to the right to own property in America, everything is still happening based on color. But the question is, was America never made for Black people? What led to all this? And what is America trying to achieve by promoting silent racism? Let's find out.
The Black History Archives.
America was never made for Black people. It is a place for only white people to exist freely. The treatment of Black people speaks to a deeply rooted issue that has permeated the nation's history. From the grim legacy of slavery to the enforcement of Jim Crow laws and persistent racial discrimination, the challenges faced by Black Americans have been both systemic and lasting. To understand the idea fully, we need to talk about that historical context so you know why America always talks about human rights and has never been able to fulfill them. From the beginning, America has faced the challenge of living up to its ideals of liberty and justice. Unfortunately, the country's roots are intertwined with a painful history of racial inequality, particularly towards Black people. The foundation of the United States, shaped by the beliefs of its founders, was marked by white supremacy, setting the stage for a legacy of systemic discrimination that continues to affect the nation. When America was founded, the deeply ingrained belief in white supremacy influenced the nation's architects. The institution of slavery, a glaring stain on the early years of the United States, reveals this dark side of history. During this period, Black individuals were not recognized as human beings, but rather as property, leading to unimaginable suffering for millions of people. The practice of slavery was a dehumanizing experience for Black individuals, as they were stripped of their basic rights and treated as commodities. Families were torn apart, and individuals were subjected to inhumane conditions, enduring physical and emotional abuse. This dark chapter in American history not only caused immense suffering at the time, but also set the foundation for enduring racial disparities that persist in various forms today. The legacy of slavery has left a lasting impact on the United States, contributing to deeply entrenched racial disparities. Even after the abolition of slavery, systemic racism persisted through segregation, discriminatory laws, and institutional biases. Black individuals faced ongoing challenges in accessing education, employment, and equal opportunities, creating a cycle of disadvantage that extends to the present day. Then comes another important factor that made things worse for Black people to exist in America and proved that this is a state of whites. Here's a reminder to please support us so we can make more videos for you by subscribing to our channel and giving the video a like. We want to build a strong community and we need your support. Let's continue now. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a dark chapter unfolded in American history with the implementation of Jim Crow laws. These state and local statutes systematically enforced racial segregation and discrimination, creating a deeply divided society that explicitly favored white Americans while marginalizing Black Americans. The impact of these laws reached far beyond public spaces, extending to schools, public transportation, and even water fountains. The pervasive nature of Jim Crow laws reinforced the belief that America was designed to prioritize the needs and privileges of white people, perpetuating racial divisions and inequalities. Jim Crow laws were a series of legal measures that solidified racial segregation in various aspects of daily life. These laws dictated separate facilities for whites and Blacks, perpetuating the idea of separate but equal, a notion that was far from the truth. While purportedly providing equal facilities, the reality was starkly different, with facilities for Black Americans consistently being inferior and underfunded. The reach of Jim Crow laws extended beyond public spaces, infiltrating schools, public transportation, and even drinking fountains. Black Americans faced segregated schools with fewer resources, unequal access to transportation, and the indignity of whites-only and blacks-only facilities. This systematic segregation not only physically separated communities, but also reinforced harmful stereotypes and perpetuated a sense of inferiority among Black individuals. The pervasive nature of Jim Crow laws reinforced the deeply ingrained notion that America was a nation designed to cater to the needs and privileges of white people. These laws perpetuated racial divisions by institutionalizing discrimination and creating separate spheres for whites and blacks. The resulting inequalities had long-lasting effects on education, economic opportunities, and social interactions, further entrenching systemic racism. Now, this was the past, which proves that America was never livable for black people. You must be wondering, is America livable for blacks now? Let's talk about present-day realities. While the civil rights movement achieved significant milestones in dismantling legal segregation, the quest for racial equality remains an ongoing challenge in present-day America. Today, black individuals continue to grapple with pervasive racial disparities that affect various aspects of their lives, reflecting deeply rooted historical injustices. Firstly, and most importantly, what black people know are economic disparities. Despite legal strides, economic disparities persist for black Americans who face higher rates of poverty and unemployment compared to their white counterparts. These disparities are rooted in a history marked by the denial of economic opportunities, redlining, and discriminatory hiring practices. The impact of past injustices lingers, shaping the economic landscape for black communities. Then comes the criminal justice system. The criminal justice system serves as a stark reminder of ongoing racial disparities, as black Americans experience higher rates of incarceration and receive harsher sentences for similar offenses compared to white Americans. This issue extends beyond individual actions, revealing systemic biases within law enforcement and the legal system that disproportionately affect black communities. Then comes health inequalities. Historical racism continues to cast a shadow on the health of black Americans, manifesting in higher rates of chronic diseases and shorter life expectancies. Limited access to quality health care, compounded by environmental factors and the stress of systemic racism, contributes to enduring health disparities that persist today. Then comes the housing and environmental justice, which stand out as critical issues that profoundly impact black communities. Discriminatory practices, including redlining and housing segregation, have left lasting disparities in living conditions. At the same time, environmental injustice further exacerbates challenges by denying equal access to clean air, water, and green spaces. These interconnected inequities highlight the urgent need for comprehensive solutions addressing racial and environmental concerns. Historical practices such as redlining and housing segregation have cast a long shadow over black communities, shaping the landscape of housing opportunities. Redlining, in particular, involved denying financial services and opportunities to certain neighborhoods, often based on racial demographics. This discriminatory practice restricted access to quality housing and perpetuated segregated living conditions, contributing to enduring disparities. The intersectionality of racial and environmental issues becomes evident in the unequal distribution of environmental benefits and burdens. Black communities frequently bear the brunt of environmental hazards, with limited access to clean air, safe water, and green spaces. Toxic industries and pollutants disproportionately affect these communities, further compromising the health and well-being of residents. Now, for those who believe that the condition of black people in America now is better than it ever was, then here are a few examples of America being the worst state for black people to exist. In recent times, there have been disturbing incidents that shine a light on the persistent issue of racism against black people in America. Black individuals continue to face racist attacks and discrimination in their daily lives. Unfair treatment is evident in various situations, including dealings with the police and applying for loans. These incidents highlight the challenges black people still encounter, emphasizing the urgency of addressing racism in all aspects of society. Historical legal cases, such as Cooper v. Aaron, Regents of the University of California v. Back, and Smith v. Allwright, have played a crucial role in addressing racial discrimination and systemic racism. These legal battles highlight the lasting impact of racism on black Americans and the ongoing struggle for justice and equality. Instances of police brutality, as seen in the tragic killing of George Floyd, have sparked important national conversations about systemic racism and the treatment of black individuals by law enforcement. Such cases shed light on the need for reforms in policing and the pursuit of justice to ensure all citizens fair and equal treatment. So, the history of America reflects a deeply rooted issue that has permeated the nation's fabric, creating an environment where the ideals of liberty and justice for all have been elusive for Black individuals. From the grim legacy of slavery to the enforcement of Jim Crow laws and persistent racial discrimination, the challenges faced by Black Americans have been both systemic and lasting. While significant strides have been made since the Civil Rights Movement, present-day realities reveal that America is still grappling with racial disparities. Economic, criminal justice, health, housing, and environmental inequalities persist, rooted in historical injustices that shape the landscape for Black communities. Being a Black American, do you feel America is good enough for you? Where, according to you, is the inequality in America coming from? Who rooted this? Let us know in the comments section. Can America ever free itself from racism? Would you like us to make more videos? If yes, please support us by subscribing to the Black History Archives and clicking the bell icon. You can check out more videos on our channel too.